Essences are one of the simplest mechanics in Path of Exile. You triple-click on the essences and fight the monsters. However, when you start analyzing the possibilities that some Scarabs provide, along with the use of Remnants of Corruption and different passives from the Atlas that change the functionality of the Remnants, this easy mechanic starts to open up several strategy possibilities that require some understanding. That's why I'm here, Exiles. Welcome everyone. My name is Arkantos, and today I'm presenting you with the ultimate guide to essences. I'm going to explain everything about these bad boys. We're going to look at all the possibilities and different strategies. Who is this content for? How to make the most of the strategy that will work best for you. If you're a Path of Exile addict like me, subscribe. I'm sure you'll like my channel. Without further ado, let's get started. Essences are a fundamental part of crafting in this game. Most of the most OP items you see for sale in the trade were made using essences, at least in some part of the item creation process. Crafters don't just need one or two essences, they need hundreds of them to make their items, which is why the demand for these items never decreases. Before we get into the more advanced details, let me answer the question. What type of player and build do essences work best for? In the past, essences were the champions for league starters, since even on white maps, it was possible to get high-level essences. However, this has changed since 3.24. Now, the minimum tier to be effective with essences is yellow maps. It's still a good strategy for league starters, since tier 6 maps are easy to get to and aren't that difficult. But understand that to be maximally effective, you'll have to run on at least tier 6 maps. At the beginning of the league, essences are in high demand, so they are worth it as a starter league, but as the league progresses, essences lose their price, but the demand remains good throughout the league. Since it is a fast mechanic, it can work in conjunction with any strategy, since it will not take much time. If your character is good at killing bosses, even better, since essences are quite strong, but you can do the mechanic well even without good single target damage, especially since tier 6 enemies are not very strong. In this mechanic, there is no reason to go beyond tier 6, since essences do not gain anything from quantity, rarity, or pack size. The only modifier that changes essences is the increased number of rare monsters, which, if used together with the Scarab of calcification, becomes very effective, but we will see more about this later. There are several different strategies for this mechanic, some focused on weak characters, ideal for league starter, and some focused on very strong characters, focused on boss rush. At the end of this video, I will give some strategy suggestions, as well as test each one of them in separate videos. Unfortunately, these essences take up a lot of space in the normal stash, and it is a bit annoying to organize them and sell them to NPCs in order to upgrade them. Because of this, a premium essence stash is recommended. This stash is not that expensive and has a great cost benefit. The only mechanic besides clicking on them 3 times is the Remnant of Corruption. When you apply one of these items to the essences, they can change in an unpredictable way. However, what makes this complicated is that if you use the Scarab of Stability, this functionality changes, and if you have the perk on the Atlas Crystal Resonance, this functionality changes again, creating a huge confusion of strategy, which is why most of the videos about essences on YouTube are completely out of date, even if their content is good. To better understand how the Remnant of Corruption works, we need to understand the groups of essences and their levels. There are 5 groups of essences, classified from A to F, or ranging from the colors blue, green, yellow, red-orange, purple, and these special ones that have a risk. The latter are the most expensive, and we should try to farm in our strategies. In addition, there are levels, starting at Whispering and going up to Deafening. If you have already finished the campaign and are on the maps, you don't even need to worry about anything below Screaming. They have practically no value, and their only function is to serve as crafting items during the campaign. Every 3 identical essences, if sold to an NPC or directly in the essential stash, can be upgraded to their higher level version. Only Screaming can forge items without spending chaos, which is why they have a higher value, in addition to giving better modifiers. Now that you understand that there are different groups and levels, let's get back to talking about the Remnant of Corruption. When you put one of these items in the frozen essences, there are 4 possibilities. 25% chance for imprisoned monsters being released with no changes to essences. This is a bad result since it doesn't give us anything special and will waste a remnant. 25% chance for all essences to increase 1 level. This means that the essence of Screaming would transform into one of Shrieking, and that in turn would transform into Deafening. This is a good result, but not always desirable, because if the essence is already at the maximum level, nothing will happen and you'll waste your remnant for nothing. 25% chance to add an additional essence type. At first glance it may seem good, but most of the time when a new essence is added it's usually a Wailing or Screaming, so it's not a very desirable result either. 25% chance to transform into the next group. Example, A to B or E to F. This result is highly desired, since essences from groups D, E, and especially F have a higher value. In addition to transforming the group, this can also update your essences, since the latter groups have fewer levels. For example, If you have several Wailing from Group D together, if you use a Remnant and the essences transform, they will transform into Screaming from Group E, since there are no Wailing level essences in this group. Those from Group F do not spawn naturally, and when they do through some perks, they are already corrupted and cannot be applied to another Remnant. The problem is that the Remnant of Corruption can have its functionality changed through two things. If you use the Crystal Resonance perk, your Remnants will choose a random essential from the frozen monster and transform all the others into the same. I really don't like this mechanic, and apparently almost no one has liked it since its introduction, but most strategies that use this perk do so because of its other bonus, which makes defeated essences pass one of their essences to the map's boss. When you defeat this boss, it will drop this essence. It's like duplicating the essence. It's recommended to use this on maps that have several bosses. That way you divide the essences and the boss doesn't get too strong. I'll test this strategy in another video that I'll link in the description if you want to see the results of farming this strategy. Usually, those who choose this perk don't worry about applying Renmants, because the results can be disastrous. To use it effectively, you need to analyze all the essences and see if it's worth the risk. Let's say the monster in question has 3 Wailing essences, which as we've seen is trash, and has a 4th Shrieking essential. In this case, there would be a 25% chance of all 4 transforming into Shrieking. Do you think it's worth betting on? The third feature of Remnant is linked to the Scarab of Stability, which changes how it works. If you're using this Scarab, in this case, only 2 results can appear, transforming the group or updating the level, which are the 2 best results. In theory, this is good, because you remove the 2 worst results from appearing, but you have to consider that this uses up an Atlas slot, which could be used for a more useful Scarab. I'm not saying it's not worth it, there are certainly strategies using it, and I'll make a video dedicated solely to testing this strategy. Since Crystal Resonance changed, many Essence players have chosen to play in a simpler way, which is not using the Remnants and focusing on boss rush, but certain strategies still use them, so I'll give you my tip. You'll always want to use Remnant if the monster has a lot of essences from Group D and F, which are the ones here. Since the purple ones are very valuable, if there are a lot of reddish essences, they will turn purple, and if there are a lot of purple essences, they will turn into special essences from Group F. These essences are already the most valuable at the moment, but you should be careful, because certain essences from Group A or B are also valuable, as is the case with Greed. It is also not worth using Renmant if the Essence monster already has a lot of maximum level essences, since upgrading it would not change anything. Because of all these details, most players prefer not to worry about it. About the passives in the Atlas, if they change a lot in the future I will update this segment of the video, or update you in the pinned comment. Let's go. Prolific Essence is right at the beginning of the Atlas and is very much worth getting. Your map will have an additional essence. These 2 unchecked perks next to it do not need to be taken. It makes the monsters drop items with the essences they have. At the beginning of the league it may even be worth it, since there are few good items on the market, but as the league progresses it becomes useless. Crystal Lattice is also right at the beginning, and is very much worth it, since the monsters have a greater chance of having more added essences. Crystal Resonance is already in the upper half of the Atlas. The use of this perk will depend a lot on your build and strength, and whether you want to use the Renmant or not. By taking this perk, the essence monsters you kill will make the boss on your map gain one of these essences. This can make your boss extremely difficult if not impossible to defeat. This works best on very strong builds that have no trouble dealing millions of damage per second. If you're going to get it, it's worth getting these 2 points here. They make monsters with essence corruptible from the start, allowing you to make these valuable essences, but they prevent you from using their Renmant. If you want to use the Renmant, then you don't need to get these 2 points. But remember that now your Renmant will choose an essence and turn them all into the same one. Playing without using your brain is not advisable to use this strategy. If you don't want to use Crystal Resonance, that's fine. Many strategies don't use it anyway, because of the complications of using Renmants. These strategies are usually better for weaker builds, or at the beginning of the league. Finally, Amplified Energies. This perk is absolutely essential for running essences. I would never play this strategy without it. It makes your essences have at least 1 essence of the highest possible level, with the white maps up to Screaming and the yellow maps onwards up to Shrieking. In your device Atlas you can select the essences, and for the cost of 3 chaos it makes 2 additional essences appear on the map. It is very worthwhile and always pays off. First I will talk about the Scarabs, and then I will talk about which strategies each one can be used in. Essence Scarab of Ascent. This one is essential to run. Together with the Amplified Energies perk it makes at least 1 essence always be of maximum level. At the beginning of the league this Scarab can be a bit expensive, but the price tends to stabilize and become quite affordable. Essence Scarab simply adds 2 groups of trapped essences. This Scarab is good for simple strategies, and at the beginning of the league, the reason for this is because there is another Scarab that works better for adding more essences. Essence Scarab of Calcification. This Scarab can replace the Essence Scarab. It makes the rare monsters that are natural to the maps become trapped as essences. It only works with monsters that are natural to that map. Other mechanics that spawn monsters do not work, with the exception of Einhar's beasts. This Scarab is also very good when used with other Scarabs such as the Bestiary Scarab of the Herd, which adds 5 red beasts each, or with the Scarab of Adversaries, which adds 4 packs of rare monsters. The Bestiary Scarab provides more, but you need to make sure that Einhar will appear on the map, which means spending points on the Atlas. The Scarab of Calcification also works very well with a specific modifier that can appear on maps, called Increased Number of Rare Monsters, which can range from 20 to 30%. This modifier can even appear on magic maps, and since quantity or rarity do not influence essences at all, it may be worth using a regex to search for this modifier with Orbs of Alteration. Essence Scarab of Adaptation. This Scarab makes it so that defeating monsters with Essence makes another monster with Essence gain an additional Essence, in addition to increasing the difficulty and rewards. To tell you the truth, I tested this Scarab very little. I did a search on YouTube and only found 2 YouTubers testing this Scarab, Path of Evening and Master T. In both cases the results were not very pleasing, but I plan to do my own tests. But one thing that became clear when watching the videos of these other YouTubers is that the monsters really get very strong. So the use of this Scarab is also recommended only with strong builds. The Essence Scarab of Stability, we already saw what it does in the Remnant walkthrough. Synergies. The other mechanics that work best with essences are Bestiary. If you use the Scarab of Calcification, even if you don't use any Scarabs from this mechanic, you will naturally spawn several beasts on the maps that can be collected as Essence. Be warned that the beasts themselves are already strong. With Essence, they become even stronger. Alva and Harbinger. The reason these 2 mechanics work well is because they both work well on low-tier maps, not needing any quantity, rarity, or pack size, being very effective even on Tier 6 maps. Bossing. Any strategy focused on bossing works very well with essences, especially after the Crystal Resonance rework. Again, you need a good build to do these strategies. Farming strategies. I will list the strategies in order from easiest to most difficult, remembering that in the next videos on the channel I will be testing each of these strategies. So if you are interested in one of them, I recommend watching those videos for the results. It is also worth remembering that in the next league, the Atlas device will be able to use up to 6 slots, 5 of which will be for Scarabs, further increasing the effectiveness of the strategies. Early Atlas Essence Farming. This strategy focuses on spending only 41 Atlas points, which can only be acquired by completing the white maps. Once you reach the yellow maps, this strategy will already be using 100% of the potential. I will give 3 Atlas suggestions for this strategy, one using Alva and another using Einhar. Both are very good. Since it is a league starter strategy, you do not need to use any Scarabs, but as soon as you have some I recommend using them. They are 1 Essence Scarab of Ascent and the maximum Essence Scarab, being able to place up to 4. In this strategy you can also run it together with the Essence Scarab of Stability, if you want to use the Remnant of Corruption. I believe it is worth it, but you need to turn on your brain to analyze whether it is worth applying the Remnant or not. Scarab Essence Farming. This strategy is just the natural progression of the last strategy, but now with 104 Atlas points, taking the main perks from Scarab drops. In this strategy we do not run Alva or Einhar. The Scarabs in this strategy can be the same as in the first strategy, for a lower cost, but if you want the version with more investment, it is the following. 1 Essence Scarab of Ascent, 1 Essence Scarab of Calcification, 2 Scarab of Adversaries, 1 Essence Scarab or Essence Scarab of Stability. Bestiary Essence Farming. This strategy is focused on combining both the mechanics of the Bestiary and Essence for maximum benefit, remembering that I have a video here on the channel teaching about the Bestiary. 1 Essence Scarab of Ascent, 1 Essence Scarab of Calcification, 2 Bestiary Scarab of the Herd, 1 Bestiary Scarab of Duplicating. This last Scarab duplicates the beast when they are collected, but if you don't care so much about the beast you can replace it with the Scarab of Adversaries. Alva Essence Farming. This strategy is focused on combining Incursion and Essence, although Incursion has no relation to the Essence mechanic. As it is a good mechanic in low tiers, it is worth it. 1 Essence Scarab of Ascent, 1 Essence Scarab of Calcification, 2 Scarab of Adversaries, 1 Essence Scarab or Essence Scarab of Stability. This last Scarab can be replaced by the Scarab of Timelines from the Incursion mechanic. Boss Essence Farming. This strategy is recommended for stronger builds. In this strategy we get the Crystal Resonance perk. From here on using the Remnant of Corruption is not recommended. Maps with multiple bosses are better, as it prevents a single boss from becoming too strong. If the boss is in a separate arena, it is even better. You will want to get all the essences before defeating the bosses. A trick that many players have done is to go straight to the boss and leave him with almost 10% life, without defeating any essence, then log out and re-enter the map, this time defeating all the essences. So the boss will receive the essences but still has only 10% life. If you use a Culling Strike support gem, you kill the boss instantly with less than 10% life, then just re-enter the arena and kill the boss with a few hits. The Scarab setup for this strategy can be as follows. 1 Essence Scarab of Ascent, 1 Essence Scarab of Calcification, 2 Scarab of Adversaries. The last Scarab can be any of the cartography ones, because this strategy is also focused on map drops from bosses. Remember that in the next videos on the channel I will test all these strategies, at least 20 maps each. So if you want to see the results, subscribe to the channel and take a look at the playlists. I tend to keep the channel well organized in the playlists. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Exiles.